Did one of America's most powerful media moguls sabotage the future of cannabis and hemp just to protect his own fortune? William Randolph Hearst wasn't just any media tycoon. He was a man who could sway millions with his newspapers. At the height of his career, William Randolph Hearst owned a vast media empire. His newspapers reached millions of Americans daily, and through them, he could control public opinion on anything he wanted. From politics to public health scares, if Hearst decided to push a narrative, it would spread like wildfire. But Hearst wasn't just making money from the news. He had major investments in the timber industry, which fed his newspaper production by providing the raw material for paper. And that's where the conflict begins. During the early 20th century, hemp started to gain attention. Hemp, a fast-growing plant, could be used to make paper much more efficiently and cheaply than cutting down trees. That would have been bad news for Hearst's timber business. The faster hemp grew, the faster Hearst's timber profits could shrink. So what did Hearst do? He launched an aggressive media campaign against marijuana, a term he deliberately used to evoke fear and link the plant to the Mexican immigrant community. Most Americans at the time didn't even know what marijuana was. They didn't realize it was just another name for cannabis, a plant used medicinally for centuries. Hearst's papers portrayed marijuana as a dangerous drug that caused madness, violence, and criminal behavior. And importantly, he linked hemp to this hysteria, despite the fact that industrial hemp doesn't have the same psychoactive effects. Through sensationalist headlines and fabricated stories, Hearst painted a picture of a society being threatened by this so-called dangerous drug. Newspapers under his control ran constant stories about marijuana-fueled crimes, pushing the idea that this plant was a serious threat to public safety. But behind the sensationalism was a much simpler truth. By demonizing cannabis, Hearst could also cripple the hemp industry and protect his timber interests. Hearst wasn't acting alone. Enter Harry Anslinger, the first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Anslinger had his own reasons to vilify cannabis, mainly to expand the power and influence of his new government agency. But Hearst's newspapers provided the platform for Anslinger's fear-mongering. Anslinger and Hearst formed a perfect team. Anslinger made outrageous claims, stating that marijuana caused insanity and turned people into violent criminals. He even claimed it could lead to murder and that it was especially dangerous to young people. With Hearst's newspapers backing up these unfounded statements, public panic grew. Anslinger had the propaganda, and Hearst had the megaphone. Together, they helped push through the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, which made cannabis and hemp illegal. You might be wondering, why was hemp caught in the crossfire? After all, hemp doesn't even have the psychoactive properties that cannabis is known for. But for Hearst, it wasn't about the effects of the plant. It was about the paper industry. Hemp was a real threat to his business, and by getting it lumped in with cannabis, he could effectively eliminate that competition. Hemp is incredibly versatile. It can be used for paper, clothing, and even building materials. It grows quickly, requires fewer resources than trees, and could have revolutionized industries. But Hearst's newspapers played a significant role in turning the public against it. William Randolph Hearst didn't just report the news, he created it, often for his own personal gain. His media-driven campaign against cannabis wasn't about protecting the public, but about protecting his profits. If you found this dive into history eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more untold stories that shaped our world.